Hey everybody, I am Erica Carlson with BRIX Real Estate, and I'm also your neighbor. I live in Rockford. If I am by any chance recognizable to you, it is because I worked for the Buffalo School District for about 15 years, and so that might be where you know me from. I am sharing the Wright County market update for real estate like I do every week. I try to come into community groups. You can join me on my Facebook professional page as well, and YouTube if you would like to meet me over there. Before I forget, next week I should have my seller guides for both, sorry, I meant to say summer seller guide and summer buyer guides for those of you who might be interested. So I'll make sure to have those in a link for you. This week, I will have a market report available, and I know a few of you have downloaded that. There's no strings attached. Just click on the link above or below wherever you are finding me today, and you can get a market report particularly for your neighborhood. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen. All right, hopefully that worked. So jumping into the data, I like to start with my preferred or favorite data, which if we reflect on the past week, maybe not this very week, but the week before was Memorial Day weekend. So we know a lot of people go out of town. It's a 3-day weekend, so it's definitely going to affect real estate. Weather and major holidays definitely impact like whether people want to go out and shop for houses or not. And so you'll notice on my screen that we just had a very slight increase in Wright County in terms of showing activity. So this data is per listing per week. I'm averaging it out for the entire county for Wright County. And I was doing that data for a while, and then I started thinking about, well, how does that compare to Hennepin County? So that's why you see Hennepin County on the screen, and it's 6.5 versus 3.5, which obviously sounds better, but when you compare it to the week over week, you get the same flow as Wright County. So if it drops in Wright, it drops in Hennepin. So there's always a flow, even though Hennepin County does tend to have more consumers shopping for houses. That makes sense. It's the metro. Obviously I'm not pulling Ramsey or some other counties that are, kind of in the center of the donut, as I like to call it. So 3.5 showings per week was average in Wright County if you had a house on the market, which tells you as a buyer, there is not as much competition as there was even 2 weeks ago when we had almost 5 showings per week. And so there's still competition. It's not like nobody's out there or whatever. It's just not the same. And then I do think I will update the average days on market next week. It looks like I missed that, but I know it hasn't drastically changed, and I'll show you why on the screen. So as you look at the June 7th column, this is the most important one. We have once again had an increase in inventory. So if you have sat on the sidelines in terms of selling, unfortunately for you, inventory has increased, which means you have more competition. And just like I did with that other data, it's like, that's all I looked at first was like, okay, that 517, that's the most interesting number. However, that doesn't really represent everything you can buy in Wright County because a lot of those are contingent on something, contingent on a house selling or an inspection. So it's actually 467 if we take out anything with a contingency. And even using that number, it's still up over the last few weeks. In fact, I went much further back, and we haven't had any inventory choice like this in a very long time. Pendings are staying about the same. However, notice we had a nice chunk of people close on their house, which we predicted. We knew that was coming. People that went under contract in April, early May, they are finally closing on those houses and moving in. So no surprise that we see 209 on our closed sales. Again, that data is just for the last 30 days as a metric, whereas I pull kind of current data when I pull this up, trying not to overcomplicate this. This month, we had a shift in absorption rate, which is a fancy way of saying if we put all the houses that are on the market, if they sold tomorrow, when would we run out of houses? And 2.3 months is when we would have not a single house left to purchase in Wright County. Of course, that's not a metric we're actually like trying to achieve by any means. We always want inventory to choose from. This is up a little over last month. And then when you compare it to the last 2 years, it's it's like seems very, very slow compared to the last 2 years. So be very careful as you're talking to neighbors or thinking about how your home is worth or how it'll sell. If you keep thinking about the last couple Junes, it's a little bit of an illusion. 2020, 21, and even 22, we're moving at a different pace than 23. It is not the same thing. Interest rates have highly impacted people's ability to go buy a house and willingness to buy a house. We continue to hover around that 7%. We just had a little bit of ease on that rate this literally like the last 24 to 48 hours. We saw a decrease a little bit. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen. And I should add that if we do see a major drop back on interest rates, what we would predict then is more people would come off the sidelines, again, pushing prices of house up, competition. So you're out there like that 21, 22 atmosphere where it's like everybody's fighting for the same house. It still feels like that to a lot of us. I mean, even though we're going into June and we go back to this data, it's like, well, it doesn't look like there's many people out there shopping. Houses are definitely moving. There's those certain houses that go into multiple offers, and we're seeing people kind of all fight for the same things. Just anecdotally speaking, I would just say every house is its own story. It's not like every house is selling in multiple offers or every house is selling the first weekend it hits the market. It really depends on what you're selling. Does it have acreage? Is it in great condition? Is it staged in current decorating, styling? All of these things influence whether your house is going to sell quickly or slowly. So as I mentioned at the beginning, there's a market report. Feel free to download it. Just click the link if you want more information about that. As always, I'm happy to be a resource to you, whether it's purchasing a house in our area or looking at selling and what you could get for that. I'm having some problems with my screen now. But either way, I'm here for you. I appreciate you making it to the end. Have a great week.